on the slide presented. While we wait to start, please use the chat window to share where are you from and what is the goal that you would like to achieve for 2024 academic year. We are going to begin the session shortly, and we are going to begin the session mostly on time. And in case you have your colleagues who have to join this particular call, please ask them to join in quickly. We shall begin the session shortly. And please use the chat window to tell us where are you from and what is your goal for 2024 academic year. Hi, Sai Krishna sir. Hi, Ravi Sharma sir. Interesting things. I want academicians to become self-efficient in using and learning new technology. Great. That's a great goal. And I think we are with you on that, sir. And today and in the upcoming series, a lot of those things are going to happen. So I hope we are able to contribute to your goal in 2024. Ravi Sharma sir is mentioning he's from Mumbai. And his goal is to become equipped with latest technological tools which help in teaching and learning process. Excellent. Right place and right platform. A lot of conversations regarding how best you can use the tools which are available with you in your pedagogy that will be introduced as a part of the series as well. Happy to contribute. Happy that we are able to contribute to your academic goals for 2024. Feel free, everyone, to just share about where you are from, which school, and maybe a goal for 2024 academic year in the chat window. While we wait for our colleagues to begin the call on time at 4 o'clock. In case you know your colleagues who are going to join this call, please ask them to join in as soon as possible. There's a lot of exciting stuff present in the call today for you all, and it would be excellent to begin it on time. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Isha. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Savita ma'am from Bangalore. Hi, Neeti ma'am, and everyone present on the call today. I request you all again to please, if you have not yet introduced yourself, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat window. And we'll begin very shortly. And I request you all to ask your colleagues also to join in. There's a lot of exciting stuff planned for you in this particular session. And we just hope that we get started by on time. Awesome. It's great to see everyone interacting on the chat and happy to know that so many people all across the two countries are joining in. Great. So it's already 4 and I want to let you all know that this particular session will be recorded. And since this session is completely packed with a lot of things, it would be best to start it on time. So we'll begin the session by 4:02. And please ensure that the school leaders, along with the IT heads and the school point of contact from your schools have joined the training. We'll begin at 4:02. Thanks. And continue to share about yourselves in the chat window. All right, it's time for us to get started. Rohini, I request you to move to the next slide. Welcome, everyone. And once again, I'd like to tell you all that this session is being recorded. We welcome you all to the Google for Education Leadership and Premium Features Training Program. I'm Isha Porwal, Adoption Specialist in the Google for Education team. And I've been the part of organization for 3+ years now. And I thoroughly enjoy working with the K-12s and the higher ed ecosystem on adoption of various technologies, and digital transformation has been my personal goal throughout the career of almost a decade. I have also been in contact with all of you from past couple of days. So feel free to reach out to us, for any queries or support that you might need throughout this program. And we are excited to see so many educators I see in the chat window already joining us today, including school leaders, IT team, and points of contact. We know you all have been incredibly busy, especially with exams, new session planning underway, and we truly appreciate you dedicating the next 2 hours to this particular session. This session is packed up with valuable and exciting things, including, addressed by our global leaders, a comprehensive program overview, a showcase of how one of our reference schools is successfully using Google technology in pedagogy, details on the program, milestones, rewards, and recognition. We have been getting so many calls and messages regarding the overall, overall program. So all that is going to be covered today. We are also going to talk about some of the actionable takeaways from the session, and finally a group picture towards the end of the session. I'm happy that some of you have already turned on your video. It is as per your comfort. So let's dive in, and let's move to our next slide. Rohini, let's move to our next slide. Awesome. Great. At Google, learning is central to everything that we do. And at Google for Education, our mission is to transform the teaching and learning at scale. Our colleagues and leaders have, globally and regionally have taken out this time to curate this program for all of you and address, throughout the series. So let's make most out of this opportunity. With that, I'll give you a quick program overview of what you can expect from this particular program. Right. So this program brings all the key players from your school ecosystem, including the leadership team, the IT specialists, and educators, to explore how technology can be used inclusively to enhance the student learning with all the licenses that you have already with yourself. So how you can make most out of that. And we'll move to the next slide. Specifically talking about the leadership, what's in it for them. So leaders are able to gain the insights, and this program helps to support the vision of your digital transformation within your school with technology adoption in line with the national curriculum framework or national education policy, right? What's in it for the IT team? So for the IT team, we have a dedicated series of sessions, and Ankur and Karant will talk more about it throughout the session today. To stay updated with the premium features that you have in the admin console, and what are the best security policies that you can have implemented as an educational institution, right? Now, what's in it for educators? So for educators, they'll be able to discover the premium features of Google Workspace for Education, and your nominated teachers also get an opportunity to be certified, Google certified, to become Google certified educators. And by working together, this program empowers educators to leverage technology effectively, ultimately, which is benefiting to students' learning journey, right? Now I'll quickly give you a program roadmap overview as well. We are today on session 1, which is the leadership session. This is anyways going to talk a lot of things about, about a lot of things of a role of leader in the digital transformation, and giving you a program overview. Next, tomorrow, we'll have a session which is specifically dedicated for the educators. We have been receiving a lot of questions. So yes, we have a session tomorrow for the educators orientation. What's in it for them, why they should attend this program, how to get certified, and what will be covered. Everything will be covered in the session tomorrow for educators who have been nominated for this training program. Now, as I mentioned, we have our IT team sessions. We have 4 sessions dedicated for the IT team, which will be taken by are IT experts, which will cover a lot of things which we'll describe in the session today. So IT team session is due for the month of March. Parallelly, we are also supporting your educators in certifications. So we have Google certified educators level 1, level 2. Then we have Google certified champions as well, Google champions. More details about it, my colleagues Suan and Sonia and Sangeeta ma'am will be sharing details about brief details about it in the session today. Then for the month of April, we have educators session. Now, when I say educators session, these are for your nominated educators to understand that how they can use technology in their pedagogy with the current things that they have with them, right? Exploring the premium features of Google Workspace for Education. And we'll be supporting them with getting certified as well. And Google is going to bear the cost as a part of this particular program to get your teacher certified upon completing a process which we'll be describing as a part of this session. Finally, we'll also have a showcase and felicitation session towards the end in May, wherein we'll be, recognizing the efforts of your educators by rewarding them, and a lot of things and activities will be done, and all these things will be communicated to you over the email. We'll also help your educators to provide a platform wherein they can go ahead and take sessions for your school, or a platform wherein they can conduct sessions for the entire community as well. We'll keep on sharing all these details with the point of contact, as well as keeping you in loop throughout the email communication in this particular program series. With that, now finally, meet the Google for Education team. Rohini, let's move to the... Yeah, great. All right. So meet the Google for Education team who have been behind, to make sure that this program and everything comes together for all of you. We have Colin, who's the director, Google for Education JPAC. And some of my colleagues are also present in the call today, and you'll be hearing from them. So that'll be great. We have Suan, who's the head of adoption JPAC. We have Chris, who's the government and academic strategy lead APAC. We have Hemant Balla, senior program manager, Google for Education. Ritu Gulati, Program Manager, Google for Education. We have Sangeet, who's the Strategic Partner Manager, Chrome OS. We have Peter, who is the Head of APG, CAPSI, Education and Chrome. We have Current, who is the Customer Engineer, Education and Chrome Enterprise. And we have Ankur, Scale Customer Engineer. We have Sonia, who's the Community Manager, Google for Education. And myself, Isha, you already know me now. So great. I'll also go ahead and introduce you to our professional development partners who are part of this particular engagement. We have Sudha, Tejishwar, Ashima, Rohini, and Hema. And throughout the series, you'll keep on hearing from Rohini as well. So, thank you, LLF team, for supporting us with this particular initiative. And Rohini for coordinating this program for us. Great. I'll quickly also share some of the statistics so that we all get comfortable and understand who are the audience for this particular program. We have 2 countries who have participated for this program. This is India and Maldives. We have 31 cities spread all across India and Maldives, 42 schools, 61 leaders, 47 IT heads, and expect 334 plus educators in the educator series. So that's great. Thank you so much for taking interest and, nominating yourself to participate in this program. We hope we are able to, contribute to your academic goals, as I see some of you have initially mentioned in the chat window with this particular program as well. Now, with that, let's move to the next slide. Okay, all right. Let me hand over and invite Colin Marson, who's the Director, Google for Education, to address you all about the roles of, leaders in the future of education and his experience with interacting leaders all across the world. Over to you, Colin.
Great, thanks, Isha. So my name is Colin Marson. Look after Asia Pacific and for Google for Education, based in Singapore, but it's really an honor to be here and to speak with you all today. It's really exciting to see these programs launched and to see this great level of turnout and participation. I was actually just in Maldives a couple of weeks ago and had the privilege of spending time both with the ministry as well as UNICEF as well as doing some school visits. And it really was so exciting, and it sort of reaffirmed something that I see oftentimes in schools, which is that there's so much passion and so much innovation that happens at the school level. In Maldives, I remember seeing some really passionate teachers at a school we visited. I also remember seeing a great satellite teaching model that I thought was so interesting and such a great way to leverage technology to be able to engage with students. Obviously, the Maldives has many islands and a lot of specific challenges with small sets of students that are relatively isolated. So the way that the school leaders have come together and the way that teachers have come together to use technology to be inclusive for students is really exciting, really interesting. And that experience I saw in the Maldives is something that I'm now talking to other people about as well. So when I think about technology and I think about sort of AI and some of the changes that are happening now, the framing that sometimes we use at Google in thinking about these opportunities are that we'd love to leverage this technology to create a tutor for every learner on the one hand, and an assistant for every teacher on the other hand. So what do we mean by that? A lot of technology, and particularly some of the changes in technology around AI generally, as well as generative AI specifically, really do open up a lot of possibilities to support students in ways that previously maybe would just be for say the wealthier students or in wealthier countries, where you could have a dedicated tutor to support a student in their specific learning needs. So we're seeing a lot of new tools that are supporting both with things like foundational literacy using AI, as well as foundational numeracy, as well as for a number of the more advanced skills. And so we're seeing the emergence of a lot of tools that allow every student, regardless of their background, to be able to effectively have a digital tutor in different ways. So a lot of possibilities for empowering the students. And I think on the other side, that one of the big changes that we're seeing is really the idea of having an assistant for every teacher. So that's supporting teachers to be able to do much faster sort of planning, much faster administration, using some of these tools. I've seen some of the examples of, for example, specific automated creation of lesson planning, which might take you normally an hour to do before a lesson, to be able to do in 5 minutes with the support of some of these tools. We're also seeing a lot of data analytics and insights that are becoming possible now, both for the teachers to help them with teaching, but also then at the school leader and system leader perspective as well. So there's a lot of changes that we're seeing happening. We're seeing different ways that's playing out in different countries. And for me, one of the really exciting things is it's not just the realm of some of the countries like Australia or others in the region where a lot of this innovation is happening, but we're seeing it happen in India, we're seeing it happen in Maldives. Right now I'm in Jakarta, and we're seeing these great innovations that are happening, again, at the school or district or national level within Indonesia as well. So it's really an exciting time. It's a little bit messy, right? The changes are happening very fast, and there's no definitive right answer about how we do things. But I do think it's a very exciting time to be in education. And I think the role of the leaders, so yourselves in education, really is to help the schools, help the teachers, help the students to navigate this process. And from a Google perspective, this really is a partnership between some of the technology that we provide and some of the insights that we see from other places that we can share with you, but also working closely with you as leaders to lead the way for your specific schools, for your systems, etc. So this partnership for us is super important, and it very much is not a sort of one-way street where we see it as we're going to teach you this. It really is a two-way street where we learn a lot from you as well. And so, we see this as an ongoing conversation. So really appreciate all of you participating in this, really appreciate all of you being partners with us on this journey. And I hope that you find this session and the future sessions as well to be useful. I always find them to be really interesting, and again, I learn a lot. I learn more from the comments and from the conversations with educators and with leaders, than necessarily the core content itself. But thank you again, and look forward to seeing some of you in person at some point. Back to you, Isha.
Thanks, Colin, for sharing wonderful insights basis your interaction with the leaders globally and how the future of education is rapidly evolving and changing. Thanks for being here with us today. And with that, I would like to invite next Swan with us, who's the head of adoption programs, Google for Education, to talk about the educators, certifications, and some of the initiatives with Google Champions and much more. Over to you, Swan.
Thanks, Isha. And I can't seem to get the slide controls, so you might have to drive through. Hello, everybody. My name is Swan. I look after our adoption programs for the region. I'm actually sitting next door to Colin, but we can't fit in the same room together, so we have to have our own room to talk to you. We're both here in Jakarta today, but I'm usually based in Sydney, Australia. So I'm looking forward to coming out to visit, India at some point this year as well. If you go to the next slide, I wanted to first start with, talking about some of our key certification programs, because I know how many leaders on the call today. And when we think of some of the roles that leaders can play in the schools that we work with, it's also about supporting the teachers in your schools through training programs and certification programs, that we run. So I wanted to introduce, if you've never seen these, on the left, you have what we call our Google Certified Educator, and these are level 1 and level 2. So you may hear the phrase L1, L2 throughout the rest of the session today. And really that covers sort of the basic product expertise within, learning about Google Workspace, learning about, the ecosystem and the platforms that we have. And then on the right there, you see what we call Google for Education Champions. So champions are made up of trainers, coaches, and innovators. And these are educators that want to take the next step beyond L1 and L2 to help others, to train others, to do one-to-one coaching and mentoring with other teachers, or have visionary ideas of beyond, take their school beyond the current sort of comfort zone that they're in, with our innovator program as well. So again, we'll share more information about this, but if you're a school leader, I highly encourage you to get involved in some of these programs. If you want to learn more about Google for Education, but also to encourage your fellow teachers at your schools to explore these as well. If you jump to the next slide, some of the champions I mentioned, Google for Education Champions updates I wanted to share for those who are familiar with the program. Again, on the next slide, you see some of the I mentioned earlier the 3 groups that we're bringing together: the Google Certified Innovator, Trainer, and Coach, which we announced in June of last year, coming together and resulting in this new group called the Google for Education Champions. On the next slide, you see when we talk about some of the requirements to become, so once you get certified, we also have recertification requirements. So it's not just one time, right? It's a regular, ongoing process that you have to go through to become a Google Certified Innovator, Trainer, or Coach. So this is something new that we've just announced a couple of weeks ago, which is sort of the recertification requirements. If you are an existing Google Certified Trainer or Coach, you see some of the requirements there. On the next slide, some of the new things that we're launching this quarter. We've got something called Ask Google for Education Anything. So this is a monthly virtual office hour just for our champions that we are going to start running with our global impact team. And so getting some of our product team folks on those calls that you can ask a question and ask anything. We wanted to make sure that you have access as a champion to some of our top leaders within the education space. And then the Champion Spotlight, once a month, we will be highlighting a Google for Education trainer, innovator, or coach, and some of the innovative work he or she does in this space, through our social media channels, through our website, through our newsletters. So really championing the champion and the work that he or she does. On the next slide, I did want to give a shout out to our recently we just launched our YouTube Shorts series for Discovering AI with Google for Education Champions. So we've got a couple of folks I know from this region who have contributed to those, and this will be, we're looking for more folks to contribute as well in local language. So, head over to the Google for Edu YouTube channel and look at the playlist to watch this. This will be growing as well. We're super excited. I think, testing out new formats with some of our YouTube series, and so you don't, have the standard play, length videos, but the shorter ones as well. On the next slide, the other big announcement that we've made this year is the new community platform, also what we're calling Champions Hub. We now have, on the next slide, 8,500 champions globally, which is something, a number that we're really proud of. Sorry, just jumping to the next slide. This, I know many are in India. I don't know the exact number in India. I don't know, Sonia and Isha, if you know the exact number of champions we have in India. Probably they can share that in the chat. But we're really excited to see this group come together globally on one home. And on the next slide, those of you who've been around, you for many years within our space, that we've had this platform called Google Plus for many years, and since we've deprecated that, we never really had a new home for our champions. And so we're launching the Google for Education Community Hub. Yeah, thank you. Next slide. Next slide, please. That shows, that this is the new place where, and you can jump to the next slide as well, what the Community Hub is going to be about. So this is going to be a place where champions can share and connect with one another. You can ask questions, you can answer other people's questions. We will be posting information about events like these that we're attending today. If you wanted to join a virtual GEG session with, and attend those, so you know what's happening at all times, and not just for your region, but also globally. So think of this as the new platform that we will be having all of our attendees, all of our champions, join and have a place. On the next slide, you see that's what the new site will look like. So googleeducommunity.com. If you are a champion, you should have received an invite to this site already. Otherwise, you can head over there and create an account. Again, you'll only be accepted in if you are one of the Google certified trainers, innovators, or coaches. If you jump to the next slide, it shows you how to, you obviously have to sign up and complete your profile, when you're signing up for the first time. And once you've signed up, on the next slide, you'll see there are two existing hubs today. There's the IT Admin Hub and the Champions Hub. And later on this year, we will also be launching the Reference School Hub, the GEG Leaders Hub, and the Instructional Leaders Hub. So there'll be 5 hubs that we will have by the end of this year. Again, a space for different members of the community to join and interact and share ideas. On the next slide, you see the what the sort of a screenshot of what it looks like. So you can see in there, like, depending on which community or group you're a part of, you'll be invited to join different spaces. On the next slide, we will also be keeping track of top contributors. So if you are regularly posting, regularly answering questions, we will be recognizing our top contributors each quarter as well. I'll jump forward to the 3 slides. If you go next slide, I won't steal. Sonia's going to talk about this, so I'll leave her to do that. I want to just quickly cover reference schools as well. You've heard Isha mention reference schools. For us in India, on the next slide, what a reference school is really an exemplar school that's using our platform, both Google Workspace and Chromebooks. And it's a great advocate for us, right? So a lot of times when somebody asks who else is using Google, we direct them to a Google reference school. So somebody that can host school visits, and also showcase some of the amazing innovative work that they're doing at their school as well. On the next slide, you see we currently have about 130 plus reference schools across Japan, Asia Pacific, in 12 countries in JPAC. Out of which, anybody want to guess how many reference schools we have in India? Just pop that in the chat. How many reference schools do you think we have in India? 5? Good guess, Sangeeta. Anyone else? 20? That's 25 to 50. We only have 130 in the whole of the region. So out of which, if I'll just go to the next. You got to skip the animation. We have actually 8 reference schools in India. On the next slide, you'll see this is a list of all of our 130 reference schools. I know there are a couple of reference schools on the call here today. If anyone can spot the 8 schools here, if you just jump to the next slide in the interest of time. These are the 8 reference schools that we have across India. So thank you for those who are on the call, for your support throughout the years and being such a wonderful advocate for the Google for Education team. My last slide on the next slide is just to talk about the reference school, what's in it for the school if you're interested. This is an invite-only program, so there's no way to apply for it if you're not invited to join the program. But do have a chat with Isha or Sonia if you're interested to learn more about the reference school program. And this is an example of what we work with the schools to get. So that's me, and with that, I will hand over to Sonia.
Thank you, Swan. Thank you for taking us through the various community programs, certifications, and the work that the community does for each other. I think that's at the heart of everything that we do. So thank you for that and for joining us. Good evening, everyone. I am Sonia Mehra Agarwal, and I lead community development, community management with Google for Education. And a little introduction here would be that I've been a part of the team for almost 3 years now, and I absolutely love and enjoy interacting with educators from across the country. And now we have from Maldives here as well joining us and learning through your experiences. So thank you for joining us and taking out the time to join us today. And Swan's mentioned overall about the lovely programs that we have, and I'm going to go a little bit more into details and some of the work that we do here in India. Next slide, please. Swan mentioned about the Google Innovator Academy, which is now open for application. He'd mentioned about Google Champions. So one of the way of being a part of the amazing Champions group is to apply for this Google Certified Innovator Academy. I will be taking our educators through the details of what the program is, what it holds, how do you apply, and these are in-person academies as well as virtual academies that have been launched for 2024. And helping them fill applications for this. Now, in India, we're a community of 150 champions who are trainers and innovators. So I want to answer your question here. And we hope that by the end of this series, we will have more names added to this number from all the schools that are present here. And from Maldives, we have 18 Google champions. And again, like I said, we hope that the number rises by the at the end of this series, which is in May 2024. The virtual academy or the in-person academy is a wonderful opportunity to work on a project of your choice with mentors from across the APAC region, along with building learnings with fellow educators. Like I mentioned, I will be talking about this in details with the educators in the upcoming sessions. Next slide, please. As a part of our community engagement, Swan's already spoken about the Google Reference School. And we also have another program, which is Google for Education Digital Leader, which is an India-specific program. Again, this is an application-based and invite-only program where we love to talk about and hear about your digital transformation journey. and the commitment to enabling all the stakeholders in your school, be it the teachers, the students, the parents, the admins, the entire ecosystem on the use of technology in their everyday work and how it enables them to bring about change in their everyday lives. Do reach out to me for more information and to understand what the process is. And hopefully in the coming weeks, I will also talk more and more in details about how can you apply for these programs and become a part of the reference school or the digital leader programs. Moving on, again, another wonderful part of our community is the Google Educators Group, a community of educators who lead online and in-person sessions on the use of technology in India. And we currently have 37 chapters. We have Sangeeta ma'am here today with us, who leads GEG Delhi NCR. From Namanji's Silverline Prestige School, which is a reference school, we have Pooja ma'am and Deepika ma'am, who lead GEG Ghaziabad, to name two of them. And of course, so many more Google educator group across the country, catering to various languages and various states that we have. They conduct these sessions which are open for all and absolutely free of cost. So do look out for a GEG in your area, in your zone, and encourage teachers to join in and learn and be a part of this wonderful exchange that they go through. Right, and we will shortly today also hear from Namanji, who's director for Silverline Prestige School, on his school's digital transformation journey and on becoming a reference school, and from Sangeeta ma'am on overall agenda for educators and on certifications. We look forward to the upcoming sessions with your IT team and with educators. Next to the next slide, please. And a very, very important initiative that we all also work with, and something that our community has contributed to, is the Lesson Library for India, wherein educators from the ecosystem have contributed short videos on tips and tricks on using Google tools in their classroom and outside of the classroom with their students. And we hope that we, by the end of this program, we receive more and more contributions from your schools as well on how to just make the most of technology in the classroom. And with this, I would like to now welcome Chris, who leads Government Education Strategy for APAC region. Chris will talk about the overall purpose of education and how leaders can support in creating a digitally enabled learning ecosystem in schools. Thank you, everyone. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Sonia. Thank you so much. With your permission, what I might do is just take over the screen sharing, because I'm going to demo a couple of things. So let me just do that now. Here we go. All right. That should come up for you now. There we go. Awesome. So good evening, everyone. I'm here in Melbourne, Australia, where I live. So it's 10 p.m., it's 10:05 in the evening, but I am delighted to be spending the evening with over 100 amazing educators from India and the Maldives. My job is one which is, for me, very, very exciting, because I spent 17 years as a teacher and also a school leader, so very much in the same shoes as all of you here on the call tonight. And what I get to do now is to work with governments and schools to really help them reimagine what it means to safely connect young people to high quality learning and to really build what we call digitally enabled learning ecosystems. And we're going to explore that in a little bit more depth as we go. We're going to try and make this session interactive. So I do have a couple of interactive activities for us to do. And I really kind of want to hear from you and want to have your insights. So please feel free at any time to drop comments into the chat or ask questions in the chat. We'll keep an eye on them. And as I say, we will actually have a little bit of interactivity so you can add your thinking into this evening's session. Now, it would be remiss of me to start any session without talking about the role of AI. And Colin alluded to this earlier when he talked about the idea of having an assistant for every teacher and a tutor for every learner. And I think it is a really exciting time. But for leaders, it's a very challenging time as well. AI can bring so much amazing innovation, but also it means that we need to think very differently about education, its purpose, what we want to achieve, and how we're going to achieve it. So that's kind of what we're going to explore this afternoon. But let me just start with this. I went into Gemini and I asked it to please paint me a picture of a complex world filled with technology, include metaphors for hope and challenges. And it actually generated 4 pictures, of which I chose my favorite one. And this was my favorite one. So without going too philosophically into the depth of this, it starts to really challenge our thinking around what it means to be creative, what it means to be a critical thinker, what it means to be a great communicator, what it means to be someone who collaborates really well. So we often talk about the 4 C's or the 6 C's as real skills that young people have needed in the 21st century. And we sometimes call them 21st century skills, even though we're 24% into the 21st century, like we're nearly a quarter of the way through, we're still talking about the need to develop these skills. So it's interesting that we have some amazing technology that can really support us, but it also starts to challenge our thinking around what it means to do education and to be involved in learning. So I just want to go to a couple of adjacent examples to start with about the impact of some of this AI technology and what it means for us in the world. 1 million researchers have used the AlphaFold database, helping advances in healthcare, pollution, and more. So what AlphaFold does, the idea of if you can fold or create a kind of 3D model of a protein, it's incredibly useful for developing things like novel vaccines or novel healthcare. But it was a really, really challenging, slow process. And Google DeepMind actually developed a piece of technology called AlphaFold, which is an AI modeling, which then actually created in minutes rather than in decades, hundreds and hundreds of additional protein models, all of which are able to help researchers to actually build some interesting solutions. And going from that, we then look at things like the AI forecasting technology that Google has developed, which is actually very pertinent in India and beyond. 460 million people live in places which are now covered by AI flood forecasting. So this kind of ability to use very massive amounts of data and to make complex insights into that data so that you can do things like forecast flooding is incredibly powerful. And really can save our world. Like we're thinking about AI to help in healthcare, to help in climate, to help in many other ways. And I bring these up because although this might not be directly attached to education and learning, I think when we stop to think about it, it really is. This ability for technology to support us in so many ways translates beautifully into the learning experience for young people. So what I want to talk a little bit more about is that everything we do at Google really is in service of our future, especially the work that we do at Google for Education. And when I think about the millions of children around the world who are able to benefit from technology, it really does warm my heart. But it also raises another challenge. It raises the challenge of those children who can't access technology to support their learning. And really it raises the interesting design question of how might we safely connect every young person to high quality learning through technology. So what I want to do is I want to invite you just to think about a young person. Now, that's easy because you all work in schools. So I'm sure you can imagine someone in the school. Often the first person as a teacher might be the naughtiest child in the school who comes to mind, and that's fine. Or you might think about your own children or nephews or nieces, but just picture one of the children that you work with or are close to in your family. And think about that everything that we do in education really is in service of those young people and therefore in service of our education. And so whether your role is to support in IT administration, whether your role is to lead within technology, whether your role is leading a school or a system, or whether your role is leading a class of 45 kids every day through learning, we all need to step into this space of being leaders so that everything we do is in service of our future as leaders. So what I want to do is I'm going to very quickly transition to get you to do some of the work. And I'm going to set us a challenge question. We are going to use a different piece of technology, which I'm going to be 100% honest, I have never used with a large audience before. So we're going to see how this works. It could go really well, or it could go terribly. So if it goes terribly, I apologize in advance. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some instructions. However, as a good teacher, I'm going to ask you not to follow those instructions until I tell you to, if that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to think about this question of what is the purpose of education? What's it for? Because before we tackle anything else, we really need to think about what is the purpose of education? What are we trying to actually achieve? Everything else then starts to make sense after that. We're going to use a product which is a partner of Google for Education. It's called FigJam. And FigJam is free for schools and educators. So if you like this, you can access it freely. So please have a go at that. What I'm going to do is just going to drop out of this for 1 second. And I'm going to show you hopefully, here we go. This is what it should look like. Let me just stop this and go to this. All right. So let's share this tab. Once you go to the link, which I'll put back up on the screen and drop in the chat in just a moment, you will arrive. It'll ask you to put your name in, and that's just so that we can see on your cursor whose name is what. It'll ask you to put your name in, and then you should be able to access this board. On this board, you will have a couple of options. You'll see that on the right-hand side over here, you can zoom out. We've got 2 activities we're going to use on this board, and we can zoom in. Okay, so we can use this little slider on the right-hand side to zoom in and to zoom out. A couple of important buttons that you need to know. The arrow or the select tool on the left, on the top left here, is the tool that allows you to select things. Now, you shouldn't be able to move. Yeah, that's good. You shouldn't be able to move that picture. And this hand tool is the tool that you select to move the board around. Okay, so if you're familiar with any of the things like Miro boards or anything like that, you'll kind of understand how this works. So select tool and then hand tool. If you want to use a shortcut, it's V will give you the select tool, and then the letter H on your keyboard will give you the hand tool. Now, when you're ready, what I'd love you to do is just to grab a Post-it note. So you'll see the sticky notes here, and you can choose a color, whatever color you like. I'm going to go for green. And you just grab a sticky note and drop it somewhere on the board. Now, at the moment, it's small, but I can actually zoom in a little bit like that, and I can then add, for me, the purpose of education is, oops, ... and you can add in your purpose of education. So the first task that you've got to do is to add in your Post-it note. You can move it around. You can resize it just by grabbing corners if you want. But it's to write down 1 or 2 or 3, as many as you want really, Post-it notes around what you believe the purpose of education is. Once you've done this, and this is a nice little fun activity, is you can read other people's Post-it notes, and you'll see a tool here, which is called the stamp tool. When you click on the stamp tool, you'll see it gives you a bunch of options like a heart. If you really love something that someone said, you can click on heart and you can just stamp it on their Post-it note so they get a nice little stamp there. Or if you want to give them a star, you can star their Post-it note as well. So it doesn't mean anything apart from I appreciate what you've written. I think it's really interesting. Now, there are a bunch of other features in this. As teachers, I know you're like curiously thinking, oh, I wonder what happens if I click on table, or if I click on any of these things here. I'm going to ask you to decline from doing that in this activity. You can definitely play with it later on in your own time. But just to recap, the kind of 2 things I'm going to ask you to do is to access the board, just get used to zooming in, zooming out, using the hand tool to drag around, add some Post-it notes, and then read other people's Post-it notes, and you can add stamps to their Post-it notes. So hopefully that makes absolute sense. It might be a little bit confusing at first, but I hope we'll be able to do this activity. I can actually see people are already in there, which is awesome. So let me just pop up again the slideshow here. And then just to let you know, so to access the FigJam, you need to go to bit.ly/jam in lowercase and then in uppercase. Okay, so bit.ly/jam. I'm just going to mute that person. There we go. We'll get you into the FigJam, and then it will ask you to add your name, and then you should be able to start navigating around the board and adding in some post-it notes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop out of this mode here, and I will leave it up on the board for the moment, and I'm just going to have a quick look. Oh, brilliant. We've already got some people in here. We've got 15 people already in, which is wonderful. Already adding. Brilliant. Oh, Tanushree, that's a big post-it note. You might want to just zoom in a little bit. All right, now we've got 20, 21, 23, 27. Amazing. So we've got all these people joining now. 30, we're nearly at. Wonderful. So try and keep your post-it notes not too big. It's perfect. And just use the zoom in and zoom out function so that you can then go and have a look at other people. Then you can have a look at the post-it notes. So what you're typing into your post-it notes are what is the purpose of education? Okay. So I'm going to leave that. Yeah, thanks, Angita. I'm going to leave that link there, and I'm just going to jump onto sharing this tab so that we can see that in the recording what you're doing. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set myself a little timer, and I've got 5 minutes, and I'm going to give you a little bit of ambient music to run on the board, and then I want you to add what's the purpose of education for you, then read other purposes, and you can add some stickers, those ones that you like, some hearts or some thumbs up or something like that. Brilliant. As you make your post-it notes, make sure you bring them back to this middle board. That's all right. Brilliant. Thanks, Amir. So if you go to that link, Rashmi, you shouldn't need to log in. It should just ask you for your name, unless it's Figma has been blocked at a level. Thanks, AJ. Going around and finding the tables. These are really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing them. You've got about just over 2 minutes if you haven't done that yet. And feel free to add a couple more or read other people's and stamp them. Right, just 1 minute left. You can figure out how to resize it into something which is which will fit on this middle board. That's great. And if you can bring in your post-it notes, if you put them elsewhere, on the sides or out to the edges, please try and resize them and bring them in. Remember, you can zoom in and zoom out. Amazing, Pooja. Great work. SG, well done. Nice. And remember, you can grab some stamps and you can pop some stamps on people's work. That's great. And if you've already, these are beautiful. If you've already done them out to one side, make sure you bring them into the center of the board. All right, that's our time up already. Okay, so I'm gonna just really invite us to have a little look at some of these. I'm just gonna get rid of some of the scribbles so I can see them. And if you want to, then it'd be great to just lock that. It'd be great to bring your ideas onto the board and just make them a nice enough size so that we can get as many as possible on. I can fix them up afterwards as well. But let's have a look at a couple of these. The purpose of education is knowledge, skills, and personal values, and to become a good human being. So I think, I'm not sure who wrote that one actually, but that's a beautiful one. Thank you. The purpose of education is to growth, change, and empowerment from Jupiter. Love that one. Bring minds together and help the community to grow. Beautiful. Purpose of education is to identify one's inner calling. I'm 45 years old, and I think I'm still trying to do that. The purpose of education is to impart knowledge, skills, and values, facilitating personal growth. Beautiful, Amir, thank you. The purpose of education is multifaceted, aiming to impart knowledge, develop critical thinking skills, foster personal and social growth, and prepare individuals for a meaningful contribution to society. Thank you, Saren, that's beautiful. So Rajani, education for me is the tool to enable one to live a purposeful life, be useful to the community, and be responsible for one's actions and aspirations. Beautiful. What's this one here? Ravi, purpose of education is for me to make things simpler to understand and spread awareness of how beautiful the world is. That's lovely. Kshipra, the purpose of education is to build a community of innovative minds and help the community to grow. Uma, I think that's Uma, isn't it? Yeah, Uma, to create an ecosystem of learners to acquire skills to be empathetic, compassionate, and mindful leaders. Beautiful. Savitha, improve culture, the way you think, behave, and of course, contributing to build the best future generation. I love this. There's some really beautiful ones on here. Poonam, let me see what this one says. Oh, there I go. To empower learners with critical skills, critical thinking skills, creativity, and passion for lifelong learning. Mahid, the purpose of education is to guide an individual through life and help them contribute to the betterment of the world. Hamid, who wins the prize for the biggest post-it note. Education is a tool for individuals to acquire knowledge, skills, and abilities, and to build empathy. Beautiful, Hamid. Thank you. Oh, you were winning for the biggest post-it note, but then I think someone just did a giant one over here. The purpose of education is to cater our mind in a streamlined path by incorporating ethical, technical, and life skills. These are fabulous. And I just want to hold this space for a moment. And I hope you enjoyed using FigJam. Again, this is a tool that is freely available for education. It links into Google Workspace, so you can use it with your classes if you want to. I'm going to explore these a little bit more and have a look at them, but I'm just going to invite you, if you haven't, just to pop back to the slides. Now, I trust you, so I'm not going to lock the session. I could lock the session and stop you all from editing, but I trust you all that you're going to just jump back to the Google Meet, I should say, and that you're able now to see the Google Meet slides. Share this tab. Here we go. All right, so that was awesome, and thank you so much for sharing your insights into the purpose of education. So let's explore this a little bit more. At Google for Education, we talk about this a lot. Like, why do we do the work that we do in education? Why don't we do something else? And really, when we think about the purpose of education at Google, we use this big phrase. And it's great in many ways because I think it's reflected very much what you have talked about in your post-it notes. But we talk about this idea of helping every learner, which is a huge challenge, to develop the knowledge, the mindset, the skill set and tool set necessary to thrive in a transforming world and actively co-construct a flourishing, diverse, and equitable society. So what do we mean by that? Well, we want kids to know more. We want kids to be wise, which isn't the same as having knowledge, but you need a lot of knowledge in order to be wise. So we want kids to know more. We want kids to develop mindsets. So we want them to be able to think in different ways. Think like a leader, think like a scientist, think like an artist, think like a writer, think like a politician, think like a climatologist. Different ways of approaching and thinking and adopting different mindsets. We want them to use different skills. So we desperately want them to be critical thinkers. We desperately need them to be creative thinkers. We need them to be empathetic. Someone used that word on their post-it note. We need them to develop that skill of empathy. We need them to be able to develop the skill of creative thinking, communication, collaboration, all of those things that we really need, especially this idea around different literacies. So yes, language literacy, second language literacy, numeracy as a foundational literacy, but also things like digital literacy, and now more than ever, AI literacy. That idea of looking critically at the role of AI in our learning. And then finally, and this is the one which often gets left off, but I think is incredibly important, is that our children need to use tool sets. They need to be able to identify what's the right tool for the job. Is it technology? Is it a Chromebook? Is it an AI? Is it something else? Is it a piece of paper? Is it a post-it note? Like, they need to identify. They have so many incredible tools. And one thing I think a lot about is, if you look at the technology that a young person has in their hands, if they have access, for example, to a smartphone, or if they have access to a Chromebook and they're able to access Gemini AI, I mean, that technology is the worst technology those young people will ever have. So just think about that for a moment. Think about the first time you saw a smartphone, how that changed fundamentally the way that we live, really, at many levels. And technology is just going to get better and better and more powerful. So the technology that children do have access to today, not all children, but those who do have access to today, is in fact the least powerful technology that they'll ever use. So when we think about that, I think it's really important that we do consider, how do we teach the children to use the tools that they have well? And we want them to thrive. And thriving looks like different things for different people. Thriving is really about being your best, not you're living your best life. That sounds like something on Instagram, but this idea of being able to be like a plant which has water, which has sunlight and nourishment, and is able to thrive and grow and become and become and become. I have a friend who talks a lot about saying it's not about being, it's about becoming. And I think I really resonate strongly when I think about, I'm constantly learning. In fact, I think I'm still a learner and will be until the day I die. And what does that mean to thrive? It means to be able to learn. It means to have access to resources that let me be the person that I can be. Because we do live in a transforming world, and transforming is a polite way of saying challenging, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. If you've ever heard that term VUCA, V-U-C-A, we do live in a world which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And we want them to actively co-construct a flourishing, diverse, and equitable society, which many of you put on your post-it notes, which was really lovely. The aim is not just to learn for learning's sake. The aim is to learn so that you can contribute to society and make it a better place. So I'm really pleased that we are on the same kind of wavelength when we're talking about the purpose of education. We are going to do another collaborative exercise in probably about 10 minutes. But I'm going to just take us through to the next kind of step. What does it mean to lead this kind of education? So when we think about learning education in school, we sometimes conflate those three ideas. We kind of bring the three ideas together, but in reality, they're a little bit different. So let's talk about school for a second. The kind of things that we think about when we talk about schools are things like buildings and timetables and classes, things like principals, teachers, students, lessons, semesters, and assessments. And when we think about education, we think about things like curriculum, exams, just in case content. What content do you need to learn just in case you're going to need it? And we think about things like systems, policies, and governance. So when you look at school, when you look at education, in reality, it hasn't changed fundamentally for a long time. What has changed fundamentally, and in no small part due to technology, is learning. So when we enable learning for young people, when we safely connect them to high quality learning experiences through technology, we fundamentally change the way learning happens. It means things like time changes. So a child doesn't need to be in a classroom at 9 a.m. on a Monday to learn. They may be able to learn at different times. We talk about synchronous learning, so learning together with other people, like a teacher, but also asynchronous learning, being able to access all different kinds of resources at your own pace and at your own time. Without technology, that's very hard to do. With technology, it's an opportunity. When we think about place, learning in a specific place, whether that's in a school, whether that's at home, whether that's somewhere else in the community, when children have access to technology, the place where they learn can shift. When they think about the space that they learn in, and by space, I want to be really specific. It's like, are they learning in a digital space? Are they learning using a FigJam? Or are they learning using a Google Doc? Are they learning using Google Slides? Are they learning using read-along or practice sets? Or are they working on a piece of paper? Are they sitting around with their friends just discussing? Like the space, the analog and the digital can shift, but you can only access the digital when you have access to technology. The people involved in the learning process shifts when you have technology. The ability to connect learners to experts anywhere in the world, and I'll give you an example of that shortly. And power shifts, and this is a challenging one for teachers and for school leaders and for system leaders, is that actually by giving children access to technology, which is safely, like the way you guys all use Google Workspace, you know that you're safely connecting kids to learning, it changes power. It means that the children have more power over their learning. We often talk about agency, so the capacity of young people to have choice in their learning, to have voice or to have a say in their learning, and also to take responsibility for their own learning. So they are empowered quite literally by technology. It also means that the world is your curriculum. The experts are everywhere, and you can access just-in-time content. And what I mean by that is, if you want to go and learn about astrophysics, you can go onto YouTube and you can find a lecture from the best lecturer in the world on black holes if you want. And you can suddenly access that content as you need it. So it's just in time. If I need to look up how do I do solve a simultaneous equation, I can go and look that up. Or I can use something like practice sets, which I know you'll hear many of you are using. You'll hear more about as you go through this series of webinars. But practice sets, for example, brings in just-in-time content to support learners. So as they're answering a question about solving a simultaneous equation, if they need a hint or video or a knowledge graph card to pop up and help them, they can get that just-in-time content, that just-in-time support. And that leads into my last piece, which is genuinely personalized, self-paced, and AI supported. That for me is where learning has shifted and continues to shift through the use of technology. Now, just to be really clear, picking up a paper book in a library or in a bookstore or at home and picking up and reading it is incredibly important learning. What I'm saying is that learning can shift because of technology. It doesn't mean that it should overtake all types of learning. So I just want to be really, really clear about that. Technology opens up many opportunities, but children should still play. They should still do music. They should still draw. They should still do art. They should still do theater and drama. And that's a really important part of when we talk about a learning ecosystem. It's really digitally enabled. It means that it has digital in it. It doesn't mean the learning is all digital. So just given the time, I'm going to move a little bit quickly. I do want to show you a kind of picture of a healthy learning ecosystem, always starting with learners in the center. We want them to thrive as a citizen. Schools and home are very important places. I have home in inverted commas because for some children that is a real challenge. They don't all necessarily have home in the sense that we often think about it. We have many out-of-school children as well around the world. Sadly, millions of children don't even attend school. When we're thinking about schools, we're thinking about governing organizations like ministries or boards of education or departments of education. We're thinking about accreditation bodies like exam boards. And we're thinking about teachers and workforce, not just the teachers who teach subjects, but also the other humans who help our learners to thrive. And the aim is to help kids to get into higher and further education or into employment. So when you look at this, you know this is an education system. You're all very, very used to it. You know exactly what it looks like. What happens when we start to digitally enable those children? So give those children access to computers, to connectivity, to a platform like Workspace. It really shifts the way that learning happens. What I mean by that is suddenly learners can still learn in community. I live in Australia, and we have a large number of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, so Indigenous Australians, who live in communities which are quite remote when you think about their distance from each other and their distance from the urban centers. But what the technology allows those students to do is to learn in a traditional way, but also to connect to other ways of learning through technology. I was recently in Mongolia, and being able to see that 9% of the children in Mongolia are actually part of herding families, so they travel around, they're nomadic. Now, how do you respect that cultural desire to live in a nomadic community, and by connecting kids with technology, allow them to learn from any expert anywhere in the world? And indeed, recently I was also in Maldives, and I think Mahid is on this call, who I spent a lot of time with. And we visited Difushi School, we visited the satellite school in Hulu Male, and we saw this ability to have children living on an island, on their atoll, and being able to connect to learning using Chromebooks and Workspace, which was absolutely an amazing, a beautiful example of a digitally enabled learning ecosystem. But also informal learning opportunities. So as we give kids access to technology, they're able to access other types of learning which they wouldn't previously have been able to. Things like an online course, for example, or going to study something using Khan Academy or using something on YouTube. And then we think about education partners. So for example, how do we use people like universities to support our learners? And specifically, the example I'll give you is experts. So 11 years ago, in 2013, I was part of the team, and I was the director of the Emerging Sciences Victoria School, which is an online science school here in Australia for remote and regional students. So basically what we did is we had 2 teachers down in Melbourne, where I live, in the kind of urban center, and they would teach online using Google Meet and Google Workspace, which back in the day, if you remember, if anyone was using it, was Google Apps for Education back then. We were using this technology to have live classes in things like astrophysics, nanophysics, bioinformatics, DNA, really interesting science subjects that these kids otherwise couldn't access. And one of the beautiful things, I think, for me, was the ability to say, hey, we've got some great teachers, but let's get a scientist, let's get an expert. Who's the world's best expert on these things? Let's connect our kids to them. And so we, for example, in the astrophysics class, we actually connected our students to a professor called Eric Mamajek from the University of Rochester in New York. Eric now actually works at NASA in the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, but he discovered an exoplanet. So he discovered a planet outside of our solar system, which has a ring size 200 times bigger than Saturn's rings. Super interesting guy, really fascinating work. And so we just reached out and said, Eric, do you want to come and teach our year 10 astrophysics class online? He's in New York, the kids are down here in Australia. And he's like, absolutely. He did a presentation on the exoplanet. He took the radio telescope data, he dumped it into a Google Sheet, and he shared the sheet with the students and said, this is how I use this data to be able to understand the scale of these planets. I've never seen learners, and by the way, teachers, myself included, so engrossed in learning from an expert in that field, someone who is doing that work. The only problem was that immediately after the lesson, Eric emailed me and said, what would you like me to teach the kids next week? And I kind of had to say, Eric, I'm really sorry, we're done. This is like a one-off lesson. But what it proved to me was there are many experts out there who love sharing their expertise with young people. So if we can bravely connect to them, use digital technology to bring them in over video and to have students collaborate with them, it literally opens up the world to those kids. And then things like micro-credentials, doing extra courses, getting a bunch of micro-credentials on a course on even one of the ones that we offer at Google, things like IT support and digital marketing. Once kids are enabled through technology, they can access all kinds of learning outside of school. Self-serve learning content, so much of that is available on YouTube, and YouTube Learning brings some amazing stuff in there. I know that in the kind of premium features that you've all got in Workspace Plus, the ability to pull in YouTube into Classroom has been an absolute game changer, and the ability to create quizzes using YouTube, again, this self-serve learning content, there's so much of it out there. And then finally, AI-driven adaptive learning. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. I know you're going to explore things like practice sets, things like read along later on. But all of this is made and enabled through technology. So when I talk about a digitally enabled learning ecosystem, I'm not talking about putting computers in schools. I'm talking about how do we connect every single learner safely to high quality learning. And the challenge in that is, how do we as leaders do that, whether it's at a school level, whether it's at a technology level, whether it's at a classroom level, or even at a system level. All right, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to do quickly two quick things. The first thing is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Gemini. So Gemini is really a set of incredibly powerful large language models. It does make mistakes, like all large language models. They're still babies. They're still really learning to walk. They're still, making errors, but they're becoming more and more powerful. And I just wanted to give you a really, really quick demo of this. So let me just pop across to here. Share this tab instead. If you haven't used, sorry, I'm leaning across to see my screen. I'm just going to put this into turn off dark theme because it might be easier to see on your screen. If you haven't used Gemini yet, do have a look at it. It used to be called Bard, and we've rebranded it. And it was called Bard because it was a large language model which wrote very well. So like Bard, as in Shakespeare, as in another name for Shakespeare was the Bard. But since Gemini is now multimodal, we've switched to Gemini, which reflects kind of the different aspects, I guess, of the model. So it can create images, it can create code, it can create all kinds of things. So if I was to do a prompt, so what I never want is to create lesson plans for like a vending machine of lesson plans where teachers just go and grab a lesson plan and do it without thinking. What I want to do is I want to use Gemini as my friend to help me plan lessons. So I'm going to show you a quick prompt, and let's see how Gemini does on planning a lesson for me. Hello, always be polite to your large language models. I am excited to collaborate with you. I need some help planning a year 9 lesson on plate tectonics. The students have no prior knowledge, and I need them to understand the basics of continental drift. Can you help me plan a 60-minute lesson, including a collaborative activity? Please use Bloom's taxonomy to create learning outcomes, and also make me an assessment using Solo taxonomy. Thank you. All right, let's see how we go. Check my spine. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to submit this prompt. Let's see what kind of mood Gemini is in. Oh, here we go. All right. So great question. I'm going to come to that in just a second. So let's have a look at it, and then we can do that. So what it says is here's a draft, and there's actually different drafts, by the way. So there's draft 2, there's draft 3. Let's have a look. So it says plate tectonics and continental drift, a 60-minute year 9 lesson plan, learning outcomes against Bloom's taxonomy. So knowledge, students will be able to define, explain, identify the implications, which is nice, work collaboratively, and evaluate. Okay, it's not bad. It'll start doing a introduction, giving a hook. So we'll begin by showing a world map predating the theory of plate tectonics. Great. Introduce the concept of continental drift. Show some evidence. Here's some individual work. Find the matching coastlines. We know that fossil distribution and rock formations. Have a group discussion. Build a model, which is a collaborative thing. Here's an assessment, which is using Solo taxonomy rubric, which is great. Pre-structural, unistructural, multi-relational, extended abstract. Here's an exit ticket. To your question just now, it actually has so far added in some differentiation. So this is really interesting. So it's talked about visual learners and kinesthetic learners. That's okay. It's not bad. I think there would be other things that you could do in terms of differentiation, but it started to think about it. It tells you what resources you need. Now, this is really kind of, for me, just the start, okay? What I can now do is I can do a couple of things. I can actually now start to interact and say, can you create me a text on continental drift, which has, what would your 9 be? 13. A 13-year-old reading level. So I can start to ask for a little bit more help, and you go, here we go. So here's a text which is actually telling me about the puzzle of continental drift at, because it is a little bit, in that kind of 13-year-old conversation. So this is really great. I can also at any point share and export this to Google Docs. So I can pop these into Google Docs. I might want to say, can you simplify the text for an 8-year-old? And so rather than me having to kind of do a lot of that heavy work around this, I can use Gemini as my friend, as my kind of teaching assistant, not to replace me, but actually to be able to be my guide. So I mean, let's have a look at, that's a really great question there. Okay, so let's ask the question. How would you adjust the lesson plan for a student who has difficulty concentrating? Let's see what it comes up with. I'm sorry, Isha, you can do more of this later. So here, it's interesting. So Aminath, it doesn't give you the answers, but it's actually telling you here are some strategies that you might be able to use. So what I mean is, even for activity 1 and activity 2 is giving you different strategies. So rather than being like the solution, it's like your friend. It's like if you've ever, if you've ever sat with someone else to plan a lesson, this is how it allows you, this is kind of your planning friend. That's how I've always found this. It can, absolutely, you can create tables. The thing, I can't remember what the prompt was now. Oh, maybe I had it. I was working in, I maybe don't have it here, but I was working in Kyrgyzstan last week, and one of the teachers asked me to do a year 10 coding lesson using Python, and it spat out the lesson, including the Python code that it would use to teach the kids. So it does really powerful ways of supporting teachers, right? So please, you're going to do a little bit more around AI, but this is what I mean when we talk about leading this kind of transformation in education. When we have these kind of tools, it means that we deeply have to think as leaders. Okay, I don't want my teachers just copying and pasting lesson plans which are made by Gemini without thinking about it. But if I can save the initial time and then support my teachers in really being great users of Gemini as an assistant rather than as a replacement. That is the kind of leadership that we have to be thinking through right now. All right. So I'm just going to pop across to my final kind of quick activity. And this is going to, hopefully, we'll be able to do this really quickly and kind of get going. What does it mean? What are the things in terms of what do you need to know as a leader, whether you're a leader of technology, a leader of a classroom, or a leader of a school or a system? What does it mean that what you need to know about digitally enabled learning ecosystems? What mindsets do you have to adopt? What skill sets do you have to adopt? And what tool sets do you need to be able to use as a leader? So I'm talking not about as a user or as about a learner, but as a leader, what are the kind of knowledge, mindset, skill set, and tool set you might need to adopt? I'm going to just drop us in, and we'll only do 3 minutes because we are running out of time. We'll do 3 minutes on this one. The link is the same. I'll drop it back into the chat. I would love you to jump back onto the FigJam. And then if you scroll down, you will see that there's here we go, some people are already on it. You'll see that there is a version of this slide, which is kind of in the, let me just share this time instead, a version of the slide which is under the picture that we just used, okay? So what I'd love you to do is grab it again, grab some Post-it notes, and just think of one thing for each. Like, what piece of knowledge do you need to know? Like, I really don't understand how large language models work, so I want to learn about that. And that could be one thing. What kind of mindset do you need to adopt as a leader in a digitally enabled learning ecosystem? What skills do you need, and what tools do you need? Again, I'm only going to give us, let's do 2.5 minutes for this one. But you can continue to think about this as long as you want afterwards. So 2.5 minutes, add your Post-it notes. What's the mindset, knowledge set, skill set, and tool set needed? Only 30 seconds left. Alrighty, I know we haven't had enough time to do this, but that's okay. I think it's just getting us a thing. I just want to pull out one immediately that really jumps out. So Sarajani, who's still typing, thank you so much, Sarajani. How to find time within the working hours of teachers' time to explore this new technology options effectively, especially when the changes are happening every week. such an important one. I'm going to give you a big heart stamp on that one. I'm going to give you a few heart stamps on that one, because this is a real challenge, right? So how do we, as leaders, create the time for our staff, for our teachers to be able to learn this stuff? How do we create, what do we get rid of? Are we just adding more to teachers' plates, or are we able to remove some certain things? Like, I hope you can see Gemini can really speed up things for teachers. You know, they can do things much more quickly. And when you look at practice sets, for example, that to me is such a good example of really powerful formative feedback, which teachers, they have to do the initial setup, but afterwards it's all automated. All of the data is fed back into the system. So it's really exciting. I'm going to leave this board open for a few more hours. So if you really want to, please do feel free to continue looking at that after the sessions. We do have a lot more to get through. It's very exciting. I'm going to leave you with these two things, which is there are two papers. Let me just pop them in the chat. And again, we can share these separately. The two papers, one about what it takes to lead in an ecosystem, and one more specifically about what it means to build a digitally enabled learning ecosystem. And with that, I think I've just hit my 50 minutes. I will say thank you very, very much. I'm not going to stay around. I'll stay around for a few more minutes, but it is getting on to 11 p.m., so I'm going to go to bed shortly. I hope you enjoy the rest of the sessions, and really excited that you're all able to participate in what is a brilliant series of learning activities designed by the Google for Education team for you. So thank you very much. I'll stop sharing.
Great. Thank you, Chris, for being, for staying late with us. I think this is a wonderful session, and especially the brainstorming activities that we have done with all the leaders present here. I hope you all can spend some time after the session also to, brainstorm with your teams internally and share some insights on these. Now with that, I would like to, go ahead and invite Mr. Naman Jain, who's the director at Silverline Prestige School, Ghaziabad. He has done some exemplary work in the education sector. They are also one of our Google for Education reference schools, and they have done some great work to, leverage the Google technology and Chromebooks. So I would not spend much time, and I would directly hand it over to Mr. Naman to talk about his journey.
Thank you, Ms. Shisha. Thank you so much. And thank you, Chris, for such a thought-provoking presentation. I really appreciate the work that is being done by Mr. Hemant, Sonia ji, Ritu ji, and Rohini, and of course, Ms. Isha at Google to help progressive schools, implement good things in education. So I'm gonna try and be as concise as possible. Throughout this presentation, I'm going to showcase our journey, how we adopted technology, how we built our organization's capability using and leveraging that technology, how we transformed the entire teaching and learning ecosystem, and not only that, how we built a better control and visibility in the entire system. So this quick picture is from Google offices in London back in 2019. And that time we only had a vision. We knew that we had to transform pedagogy, but we never knew how to do that. But during that visit, it was a light bulb moment for us, because that's when we realized that technology can can play a very, very powerful role in transforming the way we teach every single day. The transaction that happens between every child, every teacher, every single day at Silverline, that can be transformed using Google's tech. So I'm going to quickly talk about how our pedagogical philosophy shifted. In a typical, I'm sorry about all the calls that are coming on behind, but so in a typical CBSE setup, 80% of the assessment that happens is through pen and paper based tests, which is unit test 1, unit test 2, half-yearly examinations and final examinations. So we all can appreciate, because we are all educators, we understand that doing education and doing assessments using pen and paper based test only talks about, only judges a child's ability to mug up information and represent that information in a pen and paper based test. So it's only judging one particular skill. So we had to transform and tap into every single child's innate capabilities. And how do you do that unless and until you transform how you teach and how you assess? So now I'm going to showcase how Google helped us transform that and assessment as well. So this is what the 60-40 report card I'm talking about in our school at Silverline today. 60% is based on formative assessments, the project work, the Google Forms, the active learning strategies, the group discussions, the investigatory projects, the presentations that the students do. And this is the work that the students do across all the 190 days rather than just during the exam days. And only 40% is based on summative assessments. So this is what a typical Silverline classroom looks like. We are very strong in terms of technology. I'm proud to share that we have very strong technology. Our students use Chromebooks. We have a very strong network, and we have IFPDs in our classrooms. So first, these are certain examples of how implementing the Google ecosystem enabled our teachers to execute differentiated learning or flipped classrooms, or do collaboration-based activities, or doing self-directed learning. This is an example of a thinking-based question that a teacher asked in a classroom, talking about what would happen to our environment if the microorganisms didn't exist. And this is the thinking routine that the children did and submitted as a assessment, as an assignment. So not only for other subjects like EVS, mathematics, and social sciences, but a subject like Hindi, our students and teachers have found a way to execute that in the classroom as well. So we have a very innovative project called student-led conferences, wherein at the end of every semester, student submits a self-reflection journey on what they have learned, what their future will be, and what went wrong and what went good, and what were the positives of the entire, and they chart their journey forward. So all in all, what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that because we had technology in our classrooms, we were able to leverage all this, doing it on a piece of paper, or it's possible without technology as well, but it's much longer and much harder. So these are certain examples. Obviously, there has to be a lot of professional development, continuous professional development that has to go in order to transform the way teachers teach. Our teachers go approximately 6 to 7 hours of professional development every week. And this is a continuous professional development that happens throughout the year. Now I'm going to quickly try and, because I know you guys have had a long session so far, and I am towards the end of it. I want to keep it quick, keep it straightforward. So the second aspect I want to showcase is how we manage it. So for us, Google Classroom has become a very, very, very strong tool. So our pipeline is so watertight that how the teachers would plan the assessments, implement the assessments in the Google Classroom, and then as long as they execute the assessments in the Google Classroom, the generation of the report card at school's end, it's a one-click job. Nobody has to do it. The system does it all. And I'm going to showcase how we do that. So we have approximately 650 Google Classrooms. So all the mark lists and everything are maintained over here. All the assessments are maintained over here. Even the parent communication, the student communication happens. Everything, the student portfolios are maintained over Google Drives, reflection activities, the forms, all these actually end up creating that. So then if you look at this dashboard, this is a holistic progress card that we have developed based on uh, the 600 odd assignments that the child does over the period of years, over the period of academic year, and then report card is made on it. When we transformed our pedagogy, the big challenge that we encountered is that earlier a teacher had to focus on approximately 50 data points throughout the year, and it was very easy to maintain. But as soon as you're asking them to track each and every small thing that happens throughout the year, then the amount of work that the teachers had to do, that completely increased. I remember somebody asking a question as in the last activity to Chris, talking about how do you find time. I think that's where technology can be very strongly leveraged. Or we at Silverline believe that none of the clerical work should be the responsibility of the teachers. So, for example, if you are maintaining your mark list, that is typically a teacher's job. But how can we leverage technology to actually get rid of the job so that the teachers can focus on developing their concept plans, working on the quality, collaborating together as a team to deliver better learning outcomes? So we immediately face that, the data points increased to 650. So that's how we were able to leverage the technology, the Google's technology, and the Google Data Studio and the BigQuery platform that comes with Education Plus. We were able to do that. Not only that, we were able to make sure that the data that we got was authentic because it was right from the source without any human intervention. We were able to make sense of data. In my previous slide, I just ran over it very quick. Our master Google Drive is 12 terabytes. And this has been built over the period of 4 or 5 years. So how do you make sense of so much data? How do you give power to the leaders in the school so that they have clear visibility in terms of where to act and what to act upon? This is where the BigQuery platform comes into play. We were not only able to release the report card, but we were able to even build transparency. So if you look at my formative assessment, if let's say a student got 3.8 marks out of 10 in formative assessments for that particular term, for that particular semester, then now the parent can easily see why and how the child was able to do that. And building this report was just a click of a button because we had programmed it in the back end. We are now able to monitor the assignments in the Google Classroom using this particular dashboard in terms of how many were supposed to be done versus how many actually got executed. We are able to monitor 3,000 pages of concept plans that are being developed by our teachers. I have Dr. Nair with me. Dr. Nair, is it 3,000 or 30,000? I'm forgetting somehow.
It's 30,000.
So it's 30,000 pages of lesson plans that is being developed.
3,000 per month.
Developed by our teachers to execute, and those are continuously being developed and gotten better over the period of time. So how do you monitor that? How do you monitor the quality? That's where the dashboards in the Google Data Studio, the Looker Studio comes into play. So we do a lot of quality audits, that is lesson observations. So how do you monitor the external auditors and the internal auditors coming in to the school system? How do you monitor how the teachers are performing and how are they getting better over the period of trainings? How do you track that? That's where the dashboards come in. Students do discipline. We have a very strong discipline policy in the school. How do you monitor the indiscipline activity and take actions, requisite actions? Not only that, we do infirmary record keeping as well during school hours, and especially during the unit test hours, unit test days. We see a lot of consumption of pudin happening in the school infirmary. So how do you know if it's the same students or is it really a persistent problem a child is facing over the period of years? That's where the data really helps. Our entire school calendar is on Google Calendar. We are able to, so no need of telling anybody what is going to happen in school. The right people are all part of the calendar, and they know what is happening. All we have to do is just centrally manage this Google Calendar for each and every event that happens. We are able to monitor the student attendance. So if a child is not coming for 3 consecutive days, we are able to find out the names of the children who are not coming, and we can do a courtesy call. The teachers could do a courtesy call to the parents asking about the well-being of the child. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to know who all has been coming in and not. This is a quick dashboard that we have recently developed. This is showing the overall result analysis. At Silverline, we really care about the bird's eye view. We always want to know have a bird's eye view in terms of what is happening in our system. We want to have the visibility overall in our system, and that helps us tell us how each grade, each section is performing on the final numbers. We are able to monitor academic performances. We can put in the right parameters that we want and check how the classes, the teachers, and the students, it goes down to individual student level. We are able to track the performance of academic performance of the children. Our internal communication, next year we are planning to completely get rid of WhatsApp groups, and Google Spaces will be the only mode of communication that happens between the teachers, the teams, and the parents. We do a monthly review wherein all our distributed leadership team comes in, and there are so many parameters. There are approximately 17 different heads wherein we track the performance and we set the targets for the upcoming months. So this is a recent dashboard. We experienced a particular issue wherein the mother asked the child to fill in the water from the water purifiers, the water coolers, and bring it home. And she sent it for testing to a lab, to a water lab. And she sent us a report of the TDS level. That's when we knew that, we've got to track this as well. I'm going to try and answer the questions at the end of the presentation, definitely. So we were able to track. So now we developed a system wherein each and every water cooler and water dispensing outlet, there its TDS is tracked. So if you see that RO locations 1, 2, and 3 have a higher TDS value, obviously this is still accepted under the limits, but we still know that it is touching 200. So we've got to be careful about it. And the ones which are low are also a point of concern, that the TDS level should not be lower than because the minerals will not be present. Our vehicles, but now from earlier we used to use Google Stack only in our internal academics in the teaching learning process, but now we have started extending it into our administration as well. We are able to track the vehicle fuel consumption. That's where management is really concerned about. We are able to track how our teaching and learning is getting impacted due to the leaves and the substitution that is happening every single day. So for the entire year, we are able to calculate the leaves, and obviously I've hidden the names here. This is our private data, but we are able to know that a particular teacher has taken so many leaves, and she has also gone ahead and gotten the salary deducted. So this is a point of concern for us. Is there something wrong going on with our teacher? Do we need to be there to support them? These are the questions that we keep on asking every single day based on these data points. How's the communication happening between my teachers and the parents? So we realized most of the communication that was being tracked using Google Forms was happening for PTM purposes or for other purposes, like if the child wants to take gate pass. So now we are able to guide the teachers in terms of how to build a better parent connect. So I would like to leave and summarize this presentation by talking about what's in it really for us. I understand, guys, that implementing technology can be very overwhelming. And there's a lot of work that has gone over the period. There's a lot of work that has gone over the period of 5 years in implementing all of this. But I can tell with a lot of conviction that it gives you so much visibility into what is really happening in your system. You can really leverage technology and reduce the amount of unnecessary work the teachers have to do and really focus on quality. The amount of work that you were previously able to do vis-a-vis what you are now able to do, that scale entirely changes. It becomes so much more. We are able to do 100x more work than we were doing earlier. And most importantly, one has to ask a question: why are we really implementing technology? What's the vision behind it? For us, it was transforming the pedagogical practices. For us, it was transforming the way we transact with our children. That motivation might be something else. I'm really happy to say that whatever your goals are and whatever your vision is, the platform is there to provide you with the capability to mend it the way you want. It's like building your own ERP. And lastly, brings in a lot of brought in a lot of transformation. I'll just go and try to answer one of the two questions that I see over here. So this is about the communication. So what we do is there is a feature in Google, it's in Gmail called Spaces. So there you can connect your Google Drive, your Google Docs and everything, and you can pull in the Google IDs and make different groups. And that's where the communication can happen. So there's an app for mobile as well. And obviously it can be accessed on desktop. So the entire ecosystem of communication happens on one single page. With that, thank you so much. I have many more things to share, but I think I've already shot my time by 15 minutes. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Namanji, for sharing wonderful insights. This makes us believe that everything is possible if you have the right will and you have the right leadership team, and board members reiterating and brainstorming on the various use cases, then everything is possible. It just starts with this place wherein you all start this activity and brainstorm and use the technology to ensure that your teachers' clerical work is reduced and their ease of productivity is increased, and so much more. So thank you for sharing wonderful insights. With that, I would like to now welcome Karan and Ankur to talk a little bit about the IT sessions that we have expected as a part of this training series. Over to you, Karan.
Perfect. Thanks, Isha. Thanks, Namanji. You proved again and again the fact that data won't lie. With the very articulated manner of showcasing data, what impressed me was your diesel consumption data, right? It was just fantabulous, to be honest, to tell you. So when you get onto the data to capture what it can do, this is exactly what you've got as the data-driven insights that you've gone for your organization as well, right? So with this, let me get started. While we always speak, Isha, should I change the slides or how is it? Perfect. All right. Perfect. Thanks very much, Isha. So I am Karant. I'm the customer engineer. I would call it as like a shadow IT job, which is to help the IT community within your school organizations to help you achieve some of the capabilities of what a Google Workspace can really do about, right? And this is a precursor to a series of 4 sessions that we would drive in the month of March, starting with 7th, this Thursday, and every week we have about 1.5 hours of session to focus on some of the key aspects that we feel our customers would always love and use the paid features that we speak about. Starting with 7th, what we have is the premium features, in-depth review around, we speak about security and investigation tools. You would have heard about it, but we would like to speak on very commonly asked use cases from our customers. So we have brought some of those topics which are commonly asked by our customers into life with using technology and to help them understand what a security and investigation tool can really do about. Followed by it is the contextual aware access to ensure that I've been using Google Classroom, I've been using Google Drive, but is there a way that I can enforce controls of who's using? That is where we speak about contextual aware access. And then we have BigQuery analytics, which Namanjan was speaking about, is the data, right? How do you extrapolate this data? We would have a session about it. And followed by is AppSheet, which is the no-code platform, which is really helping a lot of schools. When we did these sessions with multiple schools and customers, the most important aspect and the point that they're speaking about is, hey, I don't have a large IT team, right? For me to really do technical sessions or to drive or build those applications. That is exactly where we speak about as to how AppSheets can help you with the low-code, no-code platform that we have as well, right? So, on the last but the least, the next session that we have is elevating security and productivity, basically to help you address some of the security hygiene that you would have already inbuilt in your organization. But this would be a refresher course. If you have not done it, this is an opportunity for you to understand what are the security posturing mechanisms that we can do with Google Workspace for Education. And then what we do is something called as a walled Google experience, which means that you have myriad of tools that have been used when it comes to Google Workspace. How do you ensure security is enforced on all of these applications so that you have a safe and secure learning? And also we would do an in-depth session on the forensics, which is to understand like how do I use investigation tool. I would give classic examples, right? I wouldn't want to steal the show out of our 7th session that we have. Like current, somebody deleted the users in Google group, right? Mr. Naman was speaking about and showcasing about Google groups. We have got everybody deleted out of user groups, but we don't know where to find out who deleted or who ignited this. That is exactly where the investigation tools and the forensics comes into picture. The next one session is being the Chrome OS. One of, I would call like a taboo subject at the moment when it comes to Chrome OS and its ecosystems. We have all heard about Chrome browser that is extensively used in India, but how many of you have heard about Chrome OS and its use when it comes to a lab environment as to how we can leverage a connected digital native cloud first Chromebooks that are there as well, right? And its management, how can you centrally manage a Chromebook, right? So the last but the least, when it comes to that, it is also has a live demo, which Ankur and myself will be doing it, where you can experience as to how a single Chromebook can be converted into a student devices, can be converted into a lab device, can be converted into exam mode as well, right? So all of these three can be catered when it comes to Chromebook to help you understand the capabilities that it delivers, right? The last but the least session is something that we announced right off the press at BET this year, around February timeframe, which is to manage the Android and iOS devices. If you do have Android and iOS, we would be speaking as to how you can secure those devices, provide a learning environment to your students and your staff as well, right? So the next slide, Isha. I don't want to take a lot of insights. This session should help you understand what is that is expected for the next 4 weeks that we're going to be drive. While I said IT is not the most important aspect of a school, but it plays a pivotal role or a building block when you want to build a sound, safe, and secure environment for your schools as well, right? So key pointers for some of these IT sessions, if you have access to your admin console for a hands-on experience, please get it. We would ensure that you would be making all changes in a test OU. You would get the hands-on experience, answer any questions that are there, and you could also explore the path of a paid Google Workspace Administration certification that gives you like a Google badge for about 2 years. In case if you have not registered any of these sessions, please do let Isha or Sonia know about it. We can help you get this registered as well, right? So the next 4 weeks, starting with March 7th all the way till March 28th, it's going to be an exciting session when it comes to IT, covering the security aspects, covering the Chrome OS aspects, covering what are the paid features or the premium features that we offer. The last but the least is to manage your Android and iOS devices and also Windows devices in case with the paid feature, right? So with that, I would hand it over to Isha. Thanks a lot for your time. Looking forward for the sessions starting 7th March of this week. Over to you, Isha.
Thanks, Karan, for being so quick, first of all. And I think the entire team has been asking us what will be covered in the IT session. So thank you for walking us through that. Now, with that, I'll quickly invite Sangeeta Gulati, who is the Google Certified Trainer and Innovator, GG Leader, NCR, Delhi NCR, to tell us about the program overview, what you can expect in the educator session. We have just heard of the IT. Now we'll hear what you can expect in the educator session, and some journey of her certifications as well. Over to you, Sangeeta ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Isha, and entire Google team and all these participants who have joined us today. We are looking forward to spending the next few sessions with you, learning together. And I think the success of any adoption lies in making sure that our educators are empowered. Of course, the IT teams, which of course, as you just saw, that they will get exposure, but it also is very important that our educators get empowered. And that is the focus of the sessions, 5 sessions that are lined up starting from 4th of April. And again, considering that we have the premium versions, either Education Plus or Teaching and Learning Upgrade Edition with us, it would be fantastic to discover what, the premium bits and pieces that we have and uncover them together. So starting from 4th of April, we'll be talking about the Google Classroom premium features. As you just saw Chris talking about the AI that is playing a big role. So we will be discovering how that is affecting and making the magics, our Google Classroom from good, which it is already, to great. Then we will be talking on 15th of April, again, Google Classroom add-ons, and of course, not to forget those updates that keep coming in. Just in case, if you just logged in for the first time today or maybe tomorrow, you would have seen even the login interface has changed. So lots of little things come up, and we as a teacher need to be aware of them. And that is something that we will be discovering and seeing how that makes a difference in the productivity and in terms of how we can use it in our classroom. With that, keeping in focus how Google collaboration, Google Apps lend to the collaboration, and also the AI feature coming into the read along. So if you are looking for some kind of a reading program, then that would be something interesting to look at on 29th of April. Similarly, for not only the educators, but also for the administrators, there is a possibility of email merges as well as classroom tours. You want to see what's happening in a Google Classroom of another educator, then how is that possible? And not to forget, of course, spending some more time on Gemini, trying to recognize and realize the power of that in the education scenario as an educator, how that can help you. So all the queries that were coming in today, we hope that by 21st of May, we will be able to give you a real hands-on experience. And these are all 2-hour sessions running from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And they will be hands-on. There will be some activities hands-on. So please let all the educators join in on big devices, not watch only, but do along with us as well. Moving to our next part of, what I would like to share is my journey, of course, but my journey kind of goes in a reverse order because I was an innovator first and then I followed everything else. But times have changed, programs have changed, and certifications is something that we always want our educators to have. This certification is basically an endorsement of what an educator has learned, and it kind of gives you a voice. It gives an educator a voice, which is something really needed in any scenario, but in an education system as well, because not only children learn from us as an educator, but an educator learn from another educator. So if you can empower, say, a core group in your school, it will spread much wider and it will impact generations to come in your school system. So we start with level 1, which is basically, if all of you and your educators, if you've been using Google Workspace, they might be even ready for it. We have a level 2, which is slightly more deeper dive into the tools. And then once you are a level 2 qualified, then the educators can apply for the innovator as well as the certified trainer course. We are also looking at Innovator Academy, which is a selection-based program. Now those academies are again opening up. The Seoul dates are already out, but we will have virtual academies as well. So if you cannot have the educators joining face-to-face, there will be more opportunities for them. Again, trainer would mean a person like me, who is now able to reach out to 100 plus educators sitting across, well, India and now today Maldives as well. So honored to be here with all of you. Certified coach is my dream to be. I should get that label as well, but that's again something where you are looking at a one-to-one coaching done, and of course going through a certain curriculum. So that is what we are looking at. But to support the participants of this particular program, we have planned to also hold certain support sessions in the month of March. So if we look at our next slide, we'll be able to see the kind of a plan that we have put together. So educators would be supported to appear for L1 and L2 certifications. And then after the support session, there will be a mock test that will be given, and clearing the mock exam would enable them to earn the coupon, which will free them of that fee that goes into the registration. And once they have cleared the mock exam, registered for the exam, then they will be able to appear for the exam, and very soon you will have those certified educators in your school. So the month of March is in terms of preparation, and then April to May is the exam process. Although exam is a 3-hour online exam, but we would want them to take their time after the mock exam to register, and within 8 days of registration, they need to take that exam. So hopefully by end of May, by the time we finish the program, we will have more educators from your schools certified with L1, L2, and if they're already L1, L2, then they will be supported for trainers as well. So looking forward to having more certifications coming from each school which has joined in today with us, and celebrating their and your success. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward to meeting all of you as we go across these programs that we have lined up.
Great. Thanks, Sangeeta ma'am. I think the journey that we have covered so far, we'll be talking in details in our educator sessions as well, of what our educators can expect from these sessions, and how they can get certified and all those things. So that will be covered. And for all the leaders present here on the call today, after the session also, we'll be sharing the deck with you, and we'll be sharing the action items, and we'll also be sharing how you can get your teachers nominated for the certifications we have just discussed. It's a one-time opportunity wherein Google is providing the support as a part of this particular program. These certifications are approximately the level 1 and level 2 approximately are worth $35, and which will be provided free of cost to the educators who are clearing the mock test. So it's as a part of this program, and we'll share more details as and when we proceed in the program series. Now I'll quickly talk about the milestones associated with this particular program. It's a full-fledged, robust program where you have dedicated number of educators dedicating a particular amount of time with us. IT team spending March, and our educators spending April and May with us. So definitely there is rewards and recognition and milestones in place for you all. So for the milestones, definitely we expect that each of the schools which have participated in this particular program, you should get at least like 5 teachers from each of these schools should get level 1 and level 2 certified by the end of the training program, which is May end. Then these teachers who are level 2 certified, they should conduct 1 or 2 sessions for their fellow teachers. Now, how we are helping and how these milestones are actually supporting in building an ecosystem within your schools itself. So this is a mechanism to support a sustainable ecosystem within your schools, and also helping the certified educators to take training sessions and communicate with a larger audience. Now, each school should have at least one Google certified trainer by the end of 4 months. It's a process where you become a level 1, level 2, and then you opt for becoming a Google certified trainer. We'll walk through all those processes as a part of our support sessions. And by the end of 4 months, we think and we expect you all to at least have one Google certified trainer. Then there is something called as lesson library, which Sonia also mentioned about during the conversation today. So we expect your educators to build some videos and share it with us by the end of the training sessions, to submit at least 2 videos each school. Is what we are expecting as a part of the program. Now, we also expect that, as a part of every session, we have a post-training assignment as well. So each one of the participants, we expect to complete these sessions, because awareness is one thing, and ensuring that your teachers are actually adopting and integrating the technology in pedagogy is one of the important things that you would want as leaders. Then definitely we would want the educators to complete the task which will be assigned to them post-training session, and therefore we just have like 1 session per week, so that you can absorb all the concepts and then you can try a hands-on lab experience. You can also submit us your queries. We'll share with you the query form as well, and we'll try to incorporate as much as possible in our upcoming sessions for those queries. We also expect the participants to have at least 80% attendance for the training program. Now, with that, I'll move to the next slide, which is, linked with the rewards and recognitions associated with the milestones. So the top 3 schools with maximum teachers certified by the end of the training program will receive a Google for Education Schwack Kit. So that's the first rewards and recognition. Now, any teacher who submits the lesson library use case video will also be getting a Schwack Kit. And teachers who have 80% and more attendance and are also submitting their assignments in time will get a participation certificate. So I hope this helps the educators to also be motivated and be hooked up throughout the training process. And this actually helps to support the vision of digital transformation in your schools. With that, now I'll quickly move ahead to the action items that you all can look forward to. After this call today, we'll be sharing an email with you with all these details as well, including the slide deck. We request you all to, first of all, fill the feedback form for this particular session. I'll request Rohini to share the feedback form with our audience for this particular session today. This is the first thing that we would want you to do. Next is, we have heard a lot from Suhan, Sonia, Sangeeta ma'am about the certifications, right? So we would request you all to nominate educators for these certifications, level 1, level 2, and GCT. You can nominate up to 25 educators per level from your schools. Your point of contact is able to fill up these forms, and we'll be sharing the details on email with you today. Apart from that, we've heard from Karant about the IT sessions. I know most of you have already registered for the IT session. In case you have missed that out, please fill the IT registration form soon as well. Again, all these details will be shared to you on the email today. The feedback form has been shared, and it was amazing to have you all as part of this particular session. I'm sure you might be having some questions, queries, feedbacks. Let's move to the next slide. We have our Google site, which is ready, which has all the details about the program, the roadmap, the agenda, and some frequently asked questions. You can always refer to this. We'll be sharing it in the email as well today. And we have a query form. So in that query form, whatever questions you have as part of whatever sessions we keep on having, we'll keep a track of those queries and we'll try to address them as a part of our next sessions also. Today, I know you might be wanting to interact with us, but this was a completely packed up session. But we are hearing you out and we'll be trying to address with you all. I think we are already connected with each of the school leaders on one-on-one basis as well. So we'll be trying to address whatever queries you are filling in through your point of contact, the IT sessions or the educator sessions which we have planned. With that, thanks a lot for joining in and for staying tuned with us. We were over time. And now it's time for a group photographs. I request you all to kindly turn on your videos. We'll have a quick picture. Great. And in the feedback form, you can actually submit the picture that you have taken from your screen as well. So all of you can also actually take a screenshot. And because I know there's a lot of audience present on the call today, and we'll have different view of everyone. So in 3, 2, 1, let's have a picture. Yes, Rohini, can you please stop sharing your screen for a bit? Yeah, this is great. Thanks, Sonia. In 3, 2, 1, we have a picture. All right. Done from my side. Hope you all have enjoyed this session thoroughly, and thank you so much for giving us your time. And we look forward to interacting with you in future sessions and hearing you out as well. We are already all well connected on emails as well. Thank you so much, everyone.